my name is Janelle Pascal. I'm a grade 11 student at Moose Kerr School in Aklavik, Northwest Territories. This documentary is about climate change and its effects on the lives and health of our people as Canadians, as Aboriginals, and more specific, how it affects our community.
I think the climate is what's really affecting everything. The climate affects the way we live on a seasonal basis. It affects the land, it affects the animals, the fish and the birds. And if it affects all that, then it affects us as a human race.
Climate change is long-term changes in weather patterns all over the world. One of these dramatic changes is global warming. This is where average seasonal temperatures all over the world are increasing.
More rain and more snow, and there's lots of wind too. And seasonals are just like 2 months behind or 2 months ahead. Like in November and in December it's supposed to be about 30, 40 below it. That's not happening no more now. It's only minus what, 15, 20, and that's it. And then January and February used to be the coldest month. Now we get it in February and March and April coming up. That's what it's been like that for the last number of years now.
Yeah, and one of the things
we get warm weathers a lot earlier now too, and in the winter times long ago we used to get 60, 50. It never ever hardly go below 50 below.
Yeah.
And nowadays I know the coldest was about 70 below.
70 below.
And nowadays you don't even see that anymore.
There are several causes of this warming trend. One cause is the increased amount of carbon dioxide, or CO2, being released into the atmosphere. CO2 is identified as a greenhouse gas.
it's definitely changed our way of life. Like I said before, we used to get all this fish in the fall time that would last us throughout the year. And then we would give it away to the elders, we would give it to people that wanted fish, you know. Now we can't do that because we're not getting the quota that we normally get. And even with the caribou are getting scarce, so that we're not able to do our harvest and then share it with other people. So the way the climate has changed really has affected our way of life, and I think today we have to teach our young people, like when we were cutting up the moose and cutting up the fish, we have to use every part of those animals. We can't throw anything away anymore. We have freezers today where we could, you know, ration our food. And whatever we put away in our freezers, we have to learn to start sharing, because there's going to be a lack of fish. Eventually, we may not have our caribou for long if we continue to treat our animals the way we do on the highway and that, you know, we slaughter them. So we have to really be careful, knowing that the climate is changing all the time.
A greenhouse gas is a chemical that is collected in the atmosphere that causes a change in how the greenhouse effect works. Greenhouse effect is when our atmosphere acts as a greenhouse by trapping in UV radiation from the sun and acts as a regulator for temperature and climate on Earth. This is a natural process and is essential for life to thrive on Earth. When excess greenhouse gases are collected in the atmosphere, the gases trap more UV radiation and thus causing an increase in temperatures all over the world. Here's an example that affects us here in Aklavik. In 1926, average summer temperature in Aklavik was about 10 degrees and about minus 30 degrees in the winter. The average temperature in Aklavik in 2000 was just over 12 degrees in the summer and minus 26 degrees in the winter.
What I really believe, that the whole world, everything that takes place, takes a cycle. And the world is no different. The climate's no different. It goes through a cycle. We know, for example, that this was a tropical country at one time in the past. So no doubt that cycle is going back, and one day it will be tropical again. Now, I believe that humans today are probably speeding that cycle up a bit because of the fuels that we're using and what have you. So it's probably speeding it up, but whether we speed it up and that's all that's happening. So we're speeding it up a bit, but there's going to be this will be a top of the country again. It's a cycle.
Increases in global average temperatures have been predicted as a result of increase in atmospheric greenhouse gases generated by human activities. These changes have been predicted to be greatest in the polar regions.
It's May 14. Doesn't look like global warming to me.
According to Environment Canada, weather patterns are affected by many different things that operate on sometimes very short time scales. As a result, the weather experience in any one place will continue to vary from week to week, month to month, season to season, and year to year.
According to Environment Canada, there have been significant changes to the population of the porcupine caribou herd. Since 1980, the herd grew approximately 4.5% per year to a population of about 178,000 by 1989. Although the herd was deemed to be healthy by 1998, it had declined to 129,000 and 123,000 by 2001. Scientists have discovered that even though the porcupine caribou herd have similar birth rates when compared to other barren ground caribou, it is suggested that the porcupine caribou herd have much higher mortality rates. There is much uncertainty about why this is so, but scientists have noticed an increase in warmer days during the spring migration. Since the beginning of the decline, the warmer days cause harsher travel conditions, unfavorable snow structure that makes it difficult to feed.
Another thing too, the animals are changing too. Usually you'll get your caribou in November and December. Now it's not like that anymore. Right now in March, you usually get caribou right back here, every year in March. Then it goes down to North Caribou Lake in February. Then at Travia in April, March and April. That's all changed now. And when breakup come, all the moose in the delta move in the mainland. That never happened now. That moose, it's so cold in May, moose are still across there. When the ice start moving, that's when the moose warming up and the moose start coming and it can't cross the river no more.